Why is there such a prolific rise in violence against not just women and girls, as the current narrative would have you believe, but against children too? Could it be that the police are doing a better job and identifying more offenders? Could it be because people are more inclined to come forward now, knowing that the justice system will serve them some justice? I don't think so. In fact, I think that it's more likely because the justice system, from the police to the judges and everybody in between, don't actually care for the victims of this type of offence, and due to people being allowed to carry on with it or being able to get away with it, more and more people have got to the point where they are becoming victims of it. Take the case I'm currently working on over on the Independent Media Alliance channel. 2 young boys who have been abused for 5 years or more. And let me be clear, this is not sexual abuse, but physical and mental abuse, where social services, police, NHS and everybody else who should be involved have, rather than try to identify the abuse and put a stop to it, ignored the mountains of evidence, the professional reports, the requests for reviews, and simply rubbished the claims made by the person reporting them. Now, if you want to find out more about that particular story, then go and subscribe to the Independent Media Alliance channel, link in the description. But apart from children being abused, and in the cases of Arthur Labinio Hughes and Star Hobson, to name just 2, going on to sadly die while the professional services ignored what was going on, it even happens to adults. At Bournmouth Crown Court on Wednesday the 26th of October, Judge Mr Recorder M Gibney deemed that society would benefit from 42-year-old Michael Taylor from Weymouth being offered a final chance to avoid going to jail after pleading guilty to 2 counts of assault, occasioning actual bodily harm and a breach of a non-molestation order, even after Taylor was declared a high risk to anyone he was in a relationship with. Yes, this is another report about how pathetic and incredibly dangerous the judges can be, rather than the police in this particular instance. On the 2nd of May this year, Taylor barged his way into his victim's home, grabbed her by the arms and choked her by placing his hand around her throat. The victim then went towards the kitchen, where she was again grabbed, this time put in a headlock, and had a chunk of her hair ripped out. Just days previously, on April the 30th, Taylor had come to her address in a pre-arranged visit, and following an argument between the pair, the defendant had grabbed her by the throat and again tried to choke her. On this occasion, Taylor had also caused bruising to her arm and leg. Now, Taylor was already prohibited from contacting his victim after a non-molestation order was imposed by another court on January the 10th. On May the 18th, Taylor again breached the non-molestation order for a 3rd time, where he was arrested hiding behind a sofa. In interview, he even admitted knowing to the court-imposed non-molestation order. Mr Recorder M Gibney at Bournemouth Crown Court said the assault on May the 2nd was, in his judgment, a bad case of ABH, and that both assaults were completely and totally unacceptable. The pre-sentencing report said Taylor was a high risk in any such relationship, with Mr Judge Gibney adding he was potentially a danger to other people. Gibney said it was abundantly clear that the custody threshold had been passed, and by some significant margin. So, in passing down sentence, Mr Gibney said that the root of your problems appeared to be alcohol, and you have belatedly acknowledged that. What is abundantly clear is that the custody threshold has been passed, and by some significant margin. I'm quite satisfied that the culpability is high. The court's first responsibility is to ensure the safety of its citizens. The prison officer's reference and the report of Practice Plus Group healthcare provider at the prison indicate that you are using your time in custody wisely, and that when you are sober it appears you are a very different person. Now, by that comment, I presume Taylor was kept in on remand, although I haven't confirmed it. It just appears that way from the fact he has been engaging with services within the prison. However, regardless to the bad case of ABH, regardless to the fact the assaults were completely and totally unacceptable, regardless to the fact that Taylor was deemed a high risk to anyone that he is in a relationship with, regardless to the fact that he had breached a court-imposed order at least 3 times, regardless to the fact that the judge called him a potential danger to other people, and and apart from the fact that the judge deemed the custody threshold to have been crossed by a significant margin, Taylor was given yet another chance, with a suspended sentence, with Judge Gibney saying that society would benefit from Taylor being given one final opportunity. Yeah, just throw that out there as a further insult to the victim and the justice system. It's not as if the justice system was designed to protect people and punish people who can't live in a civilised society, after all. While we see people going to jail over minor offences or even made-up offences in some cases, a violent offender with no regard for the law or the society that he lives in has been allowed to walk free to continue. Now, I will keep checking up on this name to see when this guy's back in court for doing exactly the same thing, because it's clearly not a question of if he does, but rather when he does. And I will be sure to remind you what this judge looks like, so you can let him know what you think of him for allowing another victim to suffer by allowing the perpetrator to walk free and continue in their behaviour.